It's one of the most powerful images in history. A man standing before a raging sea, his arm outstretched, holding a simple wooden staff. With it, he splits the water and carves a path to freedom for his people. We all know the story of Moses at the Red Sea, but that staff he held wasn't just a shepherd's crook. It was an object with a secret history stretching back to the very dawn of creation. The story of this staff is a journey through faith and legend, passed through the hands of patriarchs and kings, from the Garden of Eden to a mysterious end that remains one of history's greatest puzzles. This isn't just the story of a stick, it's the story of a sacred relic that connects the first man to the final days. When we think of Moses' staff, our minds jump to the book of Exodus. A shepherd, tending his flock, finds a burning bush and is given a divine mission. The staff in his hand seems totally ordinary. When God asks him, "What is that in your hand?" Moses just says, "A staff." It's only when God tells him to throw it down that its miraculous nature is revealed. But according to ancient Jewish tradition, this wasn't the beginning of the staff's story. It was just one chapter in an epic that started at the twilight of creation. The Mishnah, a core text of Rabbinic Judaism from around 200 AD, lists Moses' staff as one of 10 miraculous items God created in the final moments of the sixth day, just before the first Sabbath. It wasn't made by human hands, but was a direct work of the divine, forged in that sacred pause between creation and rest. This wasn't just any piece of wood. Rabbinic sources say it was made of sapphire, or a special wood called sandpyrne. More importantly, it was engraved with the sacred, unpronounceable name of God, and some say, an acronym for the 10 plagues that would later strike Egypt. This engraving wasn't for decoration. It was the very source of its power. The staff wasn't a magic wand. Think of it more as a conduit, a physical tool for God's will to be done on earth. From the moment it came into being, this staff was destined for a purpose far greater than guiding sheep. It was a scepter of divine authority, just waiting for the right person to pick it up. If the staff was created at the dawn of time, where was it for the thousands of years before Moses was born? This is where the story explodes from a simple biblical account into a sprawling legend, recorded in texts like the 8th century midrash Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. According to this tradition, the staff's resume is basically a who's who of biblical history. It was first given to Adam as he left the Garden of Eden. From Adam, it was passed to the righteous Enoch, and then to Noah, who had it on the ark. Noah gave it to his son Shem, who passed it down to the great patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob. Jacob took the staff with him when his family went to Egypt and eventually gave it to his favorite son, Joseph. After Joseph died, his household was raided, and the staff ended up in the Pharaoh's palace. One of Pharaoh's advisors, a man named Jethro, saw the divine markings on it and knew it was special. He took it with him when he fled Egypt for the land of Midian and planted it in his garden, and there it stuck. Nobody, no matter how strong they were, could pull it out. It became a local legend, a kind of sword-in-the-stone challenge. Generations later, a fugitive Hebrew prince named Moses arrived in Midian. He walked into Jethro's garden, saw the staff, and easily read the divine letters engraved on it. He reached out his hand and, to everyone's shock, pulled it right out of the ground. Jethro saw this and knew he was looking at the man who would redeem Israel. He immediately gave Moses his daughter, Zipporah, in marriage. This legendary history transforms the staff from a simple tool into a divine inheritance, a physical link connecting Moses all the way back to the first man. So, was it a supernatural artifact or just a regular stick? The staff's real importance is what it represented: God's authority and power working through a human being. The miracles, parting the sea, calling down plagues, making water pour from a rock, weren't performed by Moses, and they weren't performed by the staff. The staff was just the focal point, the instrument chosen to show that the power at work was divine, not human. This is a really important distinction. In the ancient world, magic was common. Sorcerers used spells to try and force their gods to do what they wanted. You see this with the Egyptian magicians, who managed to copy the first couple of plagues. But Moses and Aaron worked in silence. They didn't chant or perform a ritual. They just did what God commanded, using the staff as directed. It had no power of its own. Its power was a pure reflection of God's will, sending a clear message. This isn't magic. This is an intervention by the one true God. The staff became a symbol of how ordinary things can be used for extraordinary purposes when they realigned with a divine plan. It was a constant reminder to Moses and the Israelites that their success depended entirely on their faith in God. When Moses held the staff up during the battle against the Amalekites, the Israelites won when his arms got tired and he lowered it. They started to lose. The staff wasn't a weapon. It was a banner of faith, a physical sign that their strength came from a higher power. One of the most puzzling moments in the whole story is when the staff turns into a snake. At the burning bush, God tells Moses to throw it on the ground, and it becomes a serpent. It terrified Moses so much that he literally ran away from it. This happens again in Pharaoh's court, where Aaron's staff becomes a serpent and swallows the serpents created by the Egyptian sorcerers. This duality, the rigid straight staff and the slithering chaotic serpent, is packed with symbolism. In Jewish thought, the staff and the serpent represent two opposing forces in the world and inside every person. The serpent often symbolizes the Yetzer Hara, the impulse for evil or selfish desires. It's the bent path, devious, dangerous, and obsessed with the physical world. The staff, on the other hand, represents the straight path, righteousness, order, and spiritual alignment with God. The object itself is neutral. It has the potential for both good and evil, and it all depends on who is using it and why. When Moses throws the staff down, maybe for a split second, abandoning his trust in God, it becomes a terrifying force of chaos. But when he follows God's command and bravely picks it up by the tail, it once again becomes a tool for good. The peak of this symbolism is in Pharaoh's court. When Aaron's staff swallows the magician's snakes, the Bible is very specific. It says the staff swallowed their snakes, not the serpent. The interpretation here is that the straight path of divine purpose will always consume and overcome the bent paths of deception and evil. It's a brilliant metaphor, showing that even things that seem dangerous can be controlled and used for a higher purpose when guided by a divine hand. That staff-to-snake transformation had a very specific, targeted meaning in ancient Egypt. This wasn't just a random parlor trick. It was a direct challenge to the foundation of Pharaoh's power. In Egypt, the cobra, known as the uraeus, was a major symbol of royalty and divine authority. The goddess Wadjet was depicted as a cobra and was seen as the protector of both the land and the pharaoh. You've seen it 1,000 times. The image of the rearing cobra on the headdresses of the pharaohs, that symbol announced their divine right to rule and their status as gods on earth. The cobra was visual, shorthand for pharaonic power, recognized and feared by every single Egyptian. So imagine the scene. Moses and Aaron stand before Pharaoh and throw down a simple wooden stick, and it transforms into a cobra. The message was an earthquake. It was a demonstration that the God of these Hebrew slaves had power over the most sacred symbols of Egyptian divinity. He could create and control the very emblem of Pharaoh's authority. Then, the final insult. Moses picks up the snake by its tail, an act that should be fatal, and turns it back into a dead piece of wood. It was the ultimate power move, visually declaring that Pharaoh's divine status was a complete illusion. This wasn't just for Pharaoh's sake. It was also a critical message for the enslaved Israelites. After centuries in Egypt, they were soaked in its culture and terrified of its power. Seeing the ultimate symbol of their oppressors so easily manipulated by Moses, God must have been a powerful awakening. It was proof that the power on their side was far greater than the power that oppressed them. And the story doesn't end there. The staff's journey takes some truly mind-bending turns, even crossing paths with other world religions. If you're enjoying this deep dive into sacred history, make sure you're subscribed and turn on notifications. You do not want to miss where this relic supposedly ends up. Its final alleged destination is the most shocking part of the whole story. So what happened to this legendary artifact after Moses died? The Bible goes quiet, but Jewish tradition continues the staff's incredible journey. According to these legends, the staff didn't vanish on Mount Nebo with Moses. It was carefully preserved, and passed down through generations of Jewish leaders. Some sources even say it was kept in the temple, right alongside sacred objects like the Ark of the Covenant. It's believed to have been held by the kings of Judah right up until the Babylonians destroyed the first temple in 587 BCE. This changes the staff from a prophet's tool into a royal scepter, a symbol of the divine right to rule Israel. There are even hints of this in the Bible itself. In the famous story of David and Goliath, the text says that before the fight, David took his staff in his hand. Rabbinic tradition claims this wasn't just any old staff, but the very same staff of Moses passed down to him as the rightful king. The idea that King David, the ancestor of the messianic line, wielded the same staff from the Garden of Eden is another profound layer. It becomes a physical link in the chain of divine leadership from the first man to the great prophet to the ideal king. After the temple was destroyed, its trail goes cold. Like the Ark of the Covenant, its location became one of history's great mysteries. One tradition even says the staff was hidden away and will only reappear in the Messianic age when the future Messiah will use it to bring justice to the world. In this view, the staff's story isn't over. It's just waiting for the final act. A legend this powerful couldn't be contained by just one faith. As Christianity and Islam grew from the same Abrahamic roots, they both adopted and built upon the story, adding their own fascinating twists. In Islamic tradition, Moses or Musa is one of the most revered prophets, mentioned more in the Quran than anyone else. Islamic lore often embellishes the staff's powers far beyond the biblical account. Some legends say the staff could light up the darkest night, produce milk and honey, or even transform into a giant dragon to protect Moses from his enemies. These traditions highlight the staff as a source of God's immediate and overwhelming power. But perhaps the most dramatic and theologically complex twist comes from certain old Christian traditions. One incredible narrative, found in a text called the Syriac Book of the Bee, weaves the staff's history directly into the life of Jesus. In this version, the staff cut from a branch of the Tree of Knowledge in Eden continues its journey. After being held by the kings, it was supposedly hidden away. Centuries later, according to this tradition, it was found, and in the story's ultimate stunning conclusion, this very staff, the branch from Eden, the tool of the Exodus miracles. The scepter of King David was used as the wood for the cross on which Jesus was crucified. The symbolism is just breathtaking. The staff, which came from the tree connected to humanity's original sin, becomes the very instrument of its salvation. The object, representing the fall from grace in the Garden of Eden, becomes the vehicle for redemption at Calvary. This tradition ties the entire biblical narrative together in a single object, connecting Adam's sin directly to Christ's sacrifice. It's a poetic, powerful, and truly mind-bending conclusion to the staff's long journey. From a sacred branch at the dawn of creation to the hands of Adam, the patriarchs, and a prophet, a symbol of divine power that humbled an empire to a royal scepter held by kings, and for some, to the very wood of the cross. The journey of Moses' staff is a story that has become so much more than its physical form. It's a testament to the power of faith and our need to find meaning in the objects that connect us to our sacred stories. So, where is the staff today? The honest answer is, nobody knows. There are tantalizing claims, like a relic in Istanbul's Topkapi Palace, but there is no credible evidence that any of them are real. The staff lives on, not as an artifact you can find, but as a powerful symbol. It exists in scripture, in ancient legends, and in the rich tapestry of tradition that's been woven around it for over 3,000 years. Its story reminds us that the most profound power isn't found in a magical object, but in the faith that can turn an ordinary stick into an instrument of miracles. The staff's true legacy isn't the wood it was made from, but the enduring idea that with divine purpose, anything is possible. It's not just a stick. It's a symbol of hope, a conduit of power, and a thread that runs through the very heart of human history. If this video challenged you or gave you new insight, please consider giving it a like. It really helps more people see it. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. We're digging deep into topics that matter, and I'd love for you to be part of this community of truth seekers and believers. Until next time, stay rooted in the Word, stay alert, and remember, truth isn't always popular, but it always sets you free.